to NBA Battlegrounds, where we put the best against the best and settle the endless debates of who's better than who. So I made a video about this already last year, but damn has a lot happened since then. Kevin Durant went to Golden State, Russ averaged a triple-double and won MVP, as he averaged an insane 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists on a team that wasn't even built for him, and to me rightfully deserved the MVP based on what the award should mean. Stephen Curry, however, since then did not play like his 2016 season self, as he rightfully shouldn't have, because 2016 was one of the greatest individual seasons of all time, while having to share the ball with the best scorer in the game in Kevin Durant. However, once again, he returned to the finals, and with the help of Kevin Durant, dethroned the defending champions and got his second ring. And because of all these changes, I think it's time to do another Russell Westbrook versus Stephen Curry video. Now, like last time in this video, I will use another scoring system to decide who the winner is, those categories being scoring, passing, rebounding, defense, intangibles, clutchness, leadership, value, and accomplishments. God damn, that's a lot of categories. Each player will get a score out of 10 in each category, and we'll add them up in the end and see who wins. Well, that being said, let's get started. Scoring: Curry 9.5, Westbrook 8. Like last time, I will give the nod to Steph Curry in scoring. Don't get me wrong, both players are elite scorers, which is why I still gave Westbrook an 8. But the reason I gave Steph the nod is because he is so much more efficient than Russ, and he's already shown that he can put up the same numbers as Russ throughout a season. I know what y'all are gonna say, but Russ has 2 scoring championships. But the thing is, all scoring championships are based on is who averages the most points per game in a season. It doesn't count for efficiency, the team they're surrounded with. Obviously, if you're a guy like Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen come to your team, your points per game will go down. But that doesn't make you any less of a scorer, because this man Steph Curry, since he's come back from his injury in 2012, has averaged 25 points, shooting 48% from the field, 44% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line on 18 shots, while Westbrook in that same time span is only averaging 1 more point, shooting 44% from the field, 32% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line on 2 more shots. And don't give me the whole he had KD argument, because that makes it worse given the fact that he shot more than one of the greatest scoring threats the league has ever seen in some seasons, shows his poor decision making, and the fact that he had KD should have made him a much more efficient scorer given the fact that KD demanded so much attention on the offensive end. And besides the 2014 season where Russ was injured and 2015 where KD was injured, Russ has had a higher usage rate than KD every single year besides his first 2 years. And that's why I gave Curry the nod. Passing: Curry 8.5, Westbrook 8.5. Again, looking at it at face value, Westbrook would seem to be the clear winner here. But when you really dive into what the numbers mean, and not even what they mean, but to just more advanced numbers, the gap is essentially non-existent. Because let's make it clear right here and right now, passing is not just assists. I can still be a great passer without averaging an insane number of assists. And although Rubio averaged more assists than LeBron, we all know LeBron is a better passer. So now we look at Steph versus Russ, and even looking at face value, Russ has only averaged 1.1 more assists per game in their career, but at the same time, he's also averaged 0.7 more turnovers, nearly a full turnover more per game. And then you consider the fact that we all know Curry's in a system similar to the Spurs, where the ball is constantly moving around, while OKC's system is more on isolation, and that closes the gap even more. And then you add the fact that Steph was the league leader in secondary assists last season at 2.2 a game, while Russ was all the way down at 25 at 1.2, and the gap gets even smaller. And then you add the fact that Steph has been ahead of Westbrook in this category every single year since it's been tracked, and the gap gets even more smaller. And then you add that Westbrook had a potential 1,590 total assists and had 840 total assists, with a ratio that is similar to the completion rate in football, and he had a 0.53, while Curry had a potential of 897 total assists and had 524 total with a ratio of 0.58. and the gap gets even smaller to the point when you add everything up, it's essentially non-existent. Again, a disclaimer, this is not to prove a point that Russ is a bad passer, because what he's doing is still well above average, but I'm saying all of this to prove that as a passer and as a floor general, Steph is just as effective in a different way. Rebounding, Curry 6, Westbrook 9. Now this one, there's really no excuses in almost every way you look at it. Even with Russ's bigs boxing out for him last season, Westbrook is by far the better rebounder, because Russ is one of the 9 guards in NBA history to average more than 6 rebounds per game in their career, which is a list that includes Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, Oscar Robertson, and so many more greats. So he's definitely in exclusive company there. And he is also one of 3 guards in NBA history to average more than 10 rebounds a game in a season, and the 2 other guys played in the 60s with inflated stats and played more minutes. The only reason I didn't give him the full 10 out of 10 is because of the whole big men boxing out issue. As far as Steph Curry, he's really nothing special on the rebounding end. He's just slightly above average at 4.5 per game, which was still 15th amongst guards last season. So I gave him a 6 out of 10. Defense, Curry 6.5, Westbrook 7. Again, this is a case where people are gonna get mad because of how close they are. And to me, defensively, they are that close, because neither of them are really great defenders. And please, like with passing, man, can we stop with this notion that defense is just on ball and blocking? Because defense also involves off ball, steals, deflections, hustle, and again, when you factor all of those in, the difference is not as big as people make it out to be. Because yes, Westbrook is a better on-ball defender, and although Westbrook is a better shot blocker, Steph was 7th in the league in deflections, while Russ was all the way down at 16. Steph had more loose balls recovered, but to be fair, the difference was only 6, but nonetheless shows that they're close. Curry also contested 444 shots last season compared to Russ's 295, and even the year before, this was the same case, although the sample size is a little too small because it seems that they started recording the stats late into the season. And please don't give me the argument that Steph doesn't even defend the best guard on the other team, because in these past finals that we just watched, LeBron James wasn't guarding Kevin Durant, and last year it was Andre Robertson who was guarding Harden in the playoffs, not Russell Westbrook. So yes, to me overall, considering everything about defense, Russ is still a better defender, but the gap is not as big as people make it out to be. Intangibles, Curry 9, Westbrook 7. Now bear with me here, because this is probably the hardest to qualify and to quantify out of all the categories. I qualify intangibles as something you simply can't teach. You can't really teach how to read the defense. Most of it is just based on instincts. You can't really teach athleticism. You can help train it, but some people are just born genetically better athletes than others. You can't really teach killer instinct. You can't teach handles. You can't teach IQ. And to me, that's what puts Curry above Russ, is his willingness to adapt. Because Russ has had KD his whole career, and the fact that this whole entire time, his mentality has made him to force himself to be the alpha male and nothing else, and the fact that he wouldn't take a step back to Durant this whole entire time is a bad thing. And to me, that's an unteachable attribute, but it was for the bad, especially since it was like that for multiple years. It wasn't just a one-time thing, it was like that the whole entire time KD was there. And that was a big part in why KD left and why they never won a championship and had on-court issues, because Westbrook wouldn't take a step back, which to me is an intangible because it was his mentality. It just didn't lead to wins. No one should ever be taking more shots than Kevin Durant, especially at the volume Russ was shooting it at, unless you're as efficient as Steph Curry. And he never changed. But let's give Russ some props here, man. He is an all-time great athlete, and I don't think you can teach that. His I can do anything mentality is something special, and he does have the killer instinct. He will give you 110% every night in and night out, and that is never to be questioned. But to me, Curry's intangibles are just better because they amount to more wins. His ball control and his handles are better, allowing him to average less turnovers than Russ. His shooting ability you simply cannot teach, which is the basis of his greatness and the team's greatness, a greatness that involves 2 championships in 3 years and 3 straight years of 67+ wins. His non-alpha male mentality allows guys like KD and Clay and Dre to play the way they do, getting their touches, not feeling bad about it, knowing that Curry wants them to get their touches. But at the same time, he is capable of having that killer instinct and taking over games like Game 4 against Portland in 2016 and the game where he dropped 12 threes against the Thunder. His IQ as well contributes to his efficiency, and to me, it's not that Westbrook has less intangibles or worse intangibles than Curry. They both have their own intangibles. It's just that Curry's intangibles amount to wins. So I'm gonna have to end the first video right here, because if I kept going, the whole vid would probably be around 24 minutes long, and that is a little bit too long for one video. Part 2 will come on Thursday, and make sure to hit the notification bell or follow my Twitter to make sure you do not miss part 2 of this video. But as we go into part 2, just remember Russ and Steph are tied at 39.5 points apiece, which is pretty insane. With that being said, I am out, and see y'all on Thursday, man. Peace.